Barakata Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kudash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is How Come? With a question mark and various topics, with today's date. This lesson comes through the inspiration of a video I was watching earlier with Elder Pastor, where he did the Two Nations Shall Be a Night Womb, installment number 1 or first installment. And he was going into Esau and, the birth of Jacob and Esau and, the whole situation, and going into the history of, what we suffered under the Edomites and how our forefathers dealt with the Edomites and how the Edomites hated us and so on and so forth. And then one part of it, Spirit had him segue, and he mentioned about Genesis, the 15th chapter, dealing with, Abraham, and dealing with the vision that the Lord showed him concerning his seed, that they would be slaves under a particular nation for 400 years. And that gave me the inspiration to do a lesson called How Come? And that title came a little later. And the reason why I say that is because the how come part comes is, how come these other camps out there, right, that were on the bandwagon, going into the unity camps, they were on the bandwagon with what was being taught back then, which was that the year 2019 was the 400-year anniversary or mark of us, or the Southern Kingdom being in captivity. I'll put it like that, because ours goes back further than that. So they were teaching that the year 2019, that was going to be the end of the 400 years and that we were going to be brought back to the land. Now, these other camps taught that. Some of them taught it. Some of them were affiliated with those that taught it. I'll give you one example. You had a concert that they threw, and you had different individuals from different camps rapping, and one of them that was rapping up there was Deacon Hakah. And in the back they had the big banner, the 400-year anniversary when the Lord, from Egypt or whatever the case may be, and they taught that was dealing with America. I'm not sure of Sakari's stand on that from back then, but the point is that the banner was there. It was a part of the unity camp. It was something that was being taught back then. There were certain individuals in those unity camps that believed that were teaching that. So if that's the case, 2019 has long gone, like, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. How come you don't have a big uproar from vocab, from different camps, getting on these unity camps for teaching that lie? 2019 came and went and we're still here. So why aren't people making videos on asking these different camps as to why did they teach that, and that didn't come to pass? Would that not make them false prophets, so on and so forth? But here it is, more than 20 years later, they're still bringing up the year 2000 thing against Great Millstone, and they'll keep bringing it up until Yahushua comes back. So this is just to show you the hypocrisy out there with these different camps. Whenever it comes to something with Great Millstone, they'll push that envelope to the end. But when it comes to the other camps out there, whenever they say something and it doesn't happen, they don't go after them like they come after us. Here it is. This is 2 years ago. Not a peep or a mutter from anybody else except from Great Millstone, And here it is, which was a doctrine back then of the year 2000 thing. More than 20 years later, they're still coming at us with that. Which shows you the blatant hypocrisy. Now, Elder Barack taught that Barack Obama was an antichrist and an anti-type. He also taught that Donald Trump, President Donald Trump at the time, was going to build a statue and he was going to make everybody bow down to the statue, so on and so forth. And that those presidents came and went, and what he said didn't happen, but nobody's talking about that. None of them other camps are saying, well, why did you teach that? Doesn't that make you a false prophet? but shows you the blatant hypocrisy. You know, as hard as they come against us, shouldn't they do the same thing for those that taught things that didn't come to pass? Huh? But this shows you the blatant hypocrisy, and to show you who has the truth and who doesn't have the truth. Because the scriptures say they hate him that rebuketh in the gate. And that's why they come at great millstone so hard. So it's just a blatant hypocrisy what's going on. You should have all these different camps, all these different Israelite groups out there outside, you know, of the ones that were teaching that they should be coming against them, questioning them, asking them why did they teach that, and how come it didn't come to pass, and what is your justification for saying that. We've addressed the issue about the year 2000 thing. We've gone into scriptures to show why, you know, it was taught and why we taught it, so on and so forth. How come they're held to lesser standards than we are? How come they could say whatever they want, and even if it doesn't come to pass, they get a pass? Shows you the blatant hypocrisy and hatred that they have for Great Millstone. But that's all right, you know, because we wear it well, you know. We'll be that, you know. We'll wear that label. The Apostle Paul said, he said, if my lie much more bound to teaching the truth, then hey, so be it, in so many words, you know. So what I want to do in this lesson, Lord's will, is go through that history, you know. Elder Pastor, you know, he segued into it from the lesson he was doing, and as I was listening to his lesson, that thought came into mind. Well, how come these people don't come against, you know, these different groups that were involved with that? You know, you had the unity camps. They had banners, so some of them were teaching that. And those of you that weren't teaching it, you're, you know, indirectly, you're guilty of it too, because you were involved. You were accomplices with them. So indirectly, you're guilty of it, because you didn't tell them that they were going off. You didn't say, well, now that prophecy's not talking about that. That's talking about ancient Egypt. But you're not going to do that. But anyway, be it as it may, that opens up, you know, through the Spirit, to be able to do a lesson and go through the history, which we've gone over it before. We've gone over this history before. But every once in a while, you got to go over it, because you have new people waking up that don't know about what's going on. And like I said, it's only been 2 years since they taught that 2019 was going to be the year when Israel was going to be delivered from the bondage of Egypt, because America is in modern day Egypt. But the prophecy in Genesis 15 and Acts 7 had nothing to do with America. Yet, not a peep or a mutter from any other camp out there about these unity camps that were teaching that. Not a peep or a mutter. But more than 20 years later, they're still coming against Great Millstone about the year 2000 thing. And that wasn't something that just Great Millstone taught. Everybody back then in One West taught that. It was a part of the doctrine. But nobody's going to fess up to it. And the reason why y'all have us on record as saying is because we put the videos up ourselves. It ain't something that you found and you put it up and say, oh, well, I found this and see, we got, no, we put those videos up. Because if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't have had the records, just like you don't have the records of any of those other camps that came out of One West saying it, teaching it. Anyways, let's get into it. This is the book of Genesis, the 15th chapter. And we're going to start at the 12th verse. And we're going to get into the history of, you know, this 400-year captivity that the Lord spoke about to Abraham and to his seed, or really to the seed of Abraham, that they would be captives, you know, under a particular nation for 400 years. And when you put all the pieces of the puzzle together with the prophecy itself that the Lord made, you see that it was speaking about ancient Egypt and not another place. So let's go. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 15, verse 12. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, and horror of great darkness fell upon him. So this was an actual vision that the Lord showed him concerning the nation of Israel in the future. All right, which came during a time of Moses' birth. You know, it says, and he said unto Abram, know of a, or should I say, the time of Moses' birth was the coming into the ending of it, because when Moses was about 80 years old, roughly, that's when the Lord delivered the nation of Israel by his hand out of Egypt. All right, so it says, and he said unto Abram, know of a surety, or surely, that thy seed, the seed of the promise, which are the Israelites, shall be a stranger in the land that is not theirs. And that happened in the land of Egypt, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And that's exactly what happened. There was a 400-year period where our forefathers in the land of Egypt suffered hardcore slavery underneath the Egyptians. Now, before we read on, let's go to the next book over, the book of Exodus 12. Exodus chapter 12 and verse 40, because we're going to jump around a little bit, not like the house of pain. Exodus 12 and 40. Now the sojourning, now listen good, the sojourning, not the captivity, the sojourning, the whole time that we were staying, living in the land of Egypt. Now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. Right? It says, and it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the self same day it came to pass that all the hosts of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt. But now it says here 430 years, and the vision was 400 years. So why is that? Because the first 30 years, this is when Joseph was in the land, and Joseph was made the second in command underneath the Pharaoh over the whole realm. You know? So for that period of time, and when his kin was made known to the Pharaoh, Jake was good. You know, they were herding sheep, you know, doing what they had to do. You know, they were living well in Goshen, which was one of the best lands. Then what happened was eventually when a new Pharaoh came up, which we're going to read now in the book of Exodus, the first chapter, this particular Pharaoh didn't know Joseph. You know, he wasn't acquainted with him. So what happened was, well, let's read it. This is the book of Exodus 1 and 7. Now there rose up a, matter of fact, let's start at the 7th verse. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty. And the land was filled with them, with the Israelites, the land of Egypt. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph, see? And this is what happened. So he didn't know Joseph, so let's read on. And he said unto his people, the Egyptians, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, so get them up out of the land. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters. So they put them what? Into captivity. They evil entreated them, as we read here in Genesis 15 and 13. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in the land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. So we're reading about the taskmasters that were placed over the children of Israel in the land of Egypt, and back in Exodus 1 and 11, to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramesses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. All right, so it goes on. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to what? To serve with rigor. Remember, the Lord said to Abraham that his seed was going to be afflicted in the land that was not theirs. Verse 14. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. So Jake was catching so much hell that they were crying out to the Heavenly Father. And that's why eventually, after a certain period of time, the Heavenly Father came to deliver Israel. Because, the Lord heard the cries of our forefathers. Now let's go from there to the same book of Exodus, but let's go to the 3rd chapter. And let's start at the 19th verse. It says, and I am sure that the king of Egypt, this is in contrast, that was the beginning. This is the end of that 400-year period of affliction. But it was the 430th year since the Israelites were in that land. Okay? But it was only, the prophecy said 400 years of affliction. So it says, and I am sure that the king of Egypt will not let you go, no, not by a mighty hand. Why? Because the Heavenly Father hardened his heart on purpose to show his power, to bring forth those 10 plagues, to magnify his name, Yahweh, throughout the whole world at the time. It says, and I will stretch out my hand and smite Egypt with all wonders which I will do in the midst thereof, and after that he will let you go. That's right. And that's why after the 10th plague, the final one being the death of the firstborn among men and cattle. It says, and I will give this people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. This is talking about the ancient Egyptians. Now listen good, because this is important to listen to when we go back to the vision that the Heavenly Father gave to Abraham. It says, and it shall come to pass that when you go, you shall not go empty. You shall not go empty. You shall not go empty. But every woman shall borrow of her neighbor and of her that sojourneth in her house jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment, and you shall put them upon your sons and upon your daughters, and ye shall spoil the Egyptians. So keep that in mind, because that is very important. Now, let's go back to Genesis 15, and let's read the 13th verse again. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in the land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall... Yeah, I'm going to go back to that. And they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And afterwards shall they come out with what? With great substance. And that great substance is when they spoiled the Egyptians. Let's read that again. Exodus 3:21. And I will give this people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. And it shall come to pass that when you go, you shall not go empty. But every woman shall borrow of her neighbor and of her that sojourneth in her house jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment, and you shall put them upon your sons and upon your daughters, and you shall spoil the Egyptians. Now let's go back to Exodus 12, and let's jump up to the 33rd verse. And the Egyptians were urgent upon the people, that they might send them out of the land in haste. For they said, we be all dead men. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, with their kneading troughs being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses. And they borrowed from the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment, as the Lord said to Moses that they would do. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians. All right, so they came out with what? With great substance, as we read in the prophecy, going back to Genesis 15 and 14. And also that nation, meaning the Egyptians, whom they shall serve, will I judge. And afterwards shall they come out with great substance. And that's what they did. They spoiled the Egyptians, and they came out with great substance. You could say in a roundabout way that those were reparations of the time. You know? Because remember, once the journey of the 40 years in the wilderness passed, eventually when the Lord, allowed our forefathers to take the land of Canaan, you had to have houses built. You had to have many different things built. So you needed these substances, cattle, silver, gold, and whatever else they had at the time to be able to build, the the for I hate using the word community, but the houses and stuff that Jake, would eventually dwell in, because for the 40 years they were dwelling in tents. All right, so eventually, they would have to build houses, and then you still had to build, a place to worship the Lord, and altars and stuff like that, until later on when King David, which actually was through King Solomon, that actually built the house of the Lord, because he gave him charge, because King David had too much blood on his hands, and he couldn't. Hey, what's going on, man? Huh? Squirrel coming up. So that's what happened. All right. So as you can see, the parallels in this, how the 400-year prophecy had nothing to do with America, because America is going to be totally destroyed, and the scriptures say that when we leave out of this place, we're going to be leaving out of here in a chariot. And Yahushua said, matter of fact, let's go to, and I want to get another precept in Acts 7, but let's go to this one first. This would be Acts. You know what? Let's go to Luke. I think it's Luke 17. It's in Matthew. It's in Mark. I believe it's even in John. But I want to get this one in Luke. Right. I'm just going to go straight to the point. Verse 28. Likewise also as it was in the days of Lot. They did eat, they drank, they bought. It says they sold, they planted, they builded, what you see going on now. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. In that day he which shall be upon the housetop and his stuff in the house, let him not come down to take it away. And he that is in the field, let him likewise not return back. Why? Because when the Lord comes, the scriptures say, come up hither, my people. Okay? And when the elect are beamed up into the chariot, they're not going to be bringing none of these substances with them. You ain't going to be bringing your car or your home. You ain't going to be bringing no gold or silver or so-called money that you have, or things of value that you have. You ain't going to bring none of that with you. Lord's will, we be the elect. None of that's going to come with us. The only thing that's coming up out of here is the elect person in that body that they're in, today, whether they come out of the grave or whether they actually are lifted up, still being alive. And eventually, once you go up so high, the body's not going to be able to breathe. Then the change is going to come in the twinkling of an eye, because the enemies have to behold the men of the Lord going up. And after a certain period of time, the body can't breathe and the eye can't see. So after the people go up and the enemies be all upset and mad, hey, what's going on, man? Then eventually what's going to happen is the change will come, the metamorphosis, that change will come. And that will be the beginning of the new kingdom, okay? And you're still going to have Israelites around the world, and some of them are going to be put to death because they're not going to take heed, because they're still going to be in that heathen mind state. But the ones that are delivered, and then when the kingdom is established, the ones that come back, they're going to be all right. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with the ones that are around the world, how the Lord is going to do it. The ones that are, that are not pulled up into a chariot, that are still around the earth, that are still alive, of the Israelites, because you have many Israelites. We don't know if the Lord is going to allow the elect to change them, or if the Lord is going to change them himself, or how that's going to go down, but some of them are going to be put to death because they're going to not want to stop eating tarantula and worshiping, whatever they're worshiping, so they're going to have to be moved out the way, because the kingdom is going to be totally righteous. Ain't going to be none of that, hidden sins as Jake always did. All right. But that's another lesson. Maybe somebody wants to jump on that. But like I said, that's just mainly speculatory because we don't know exactly how it's going to go down. Then it goes on to say, remember Lot's wife, whosoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life shall preserve it. Yeah. And that's the bottom line. You know, so the deliverance out of Egypt, our people came out with great substance, as the prophecy states, the vision that the Lord showed Abraham. But the deliverance out of America, the modern day Egypt, there's not going to be any substance coming with the elect, just themselves. You see? So that on all levels, that whole thing is madness. But the point is that if the people would have took the time to sit down and read the scriptures, actually read the scriptures, like Ariana said years ago, he said, you Christians get mad at us because we actually read the Bible, you know? So if they would have took the time to actually read the Bible, hey, what's going on, man? I wish I had something to give you. I got nothing. You know, you want some coffee? He's just looking at me like, huh? If they actually took the time to read the scriptures and the Spirit was work with them, they would see, said, nah, that doesn't add up. Because the scriptures say that the Israelites will come out with great substance. So why is it that when you go back to Egypt, the Israelites actually came out with great substance, you know? But out of America, that's not going to be so. Unless they're thinking that they're going to get on jets or ships or whatever, you know, of the sea to leave out of this place. You never know with Jake. You know, I given up saying that I thought I heard it all. Nope. Till Yahushua comes back, there's going to be many different crazy doctrines. They're going to get worse and worse. They're going to get more and more ridiculous. You know, so I'm done with saying I thought I heard it all. Nope, I didn't hear it all because we're still here. And you're still going to have these bugged out, different breakdowns and so-called interpretations and way out wacky doctrines. And remember, these people are under some serious mind control. You know, they're under some serious heavy toxins. They're under some serious heavy, you know, bombardment of poisons in their bloodstream. You know, and it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. So I'm done saying that I thought I heard it all. If I say it, it'll probably just be cliche. That's about it. All right, so let's go to Acts 7 now. And I got a couple of verses to read in here. Acts chapter 7, verse 6. And the Most High spake on this wise, that his seed should sojourn in a strange land, and that they should bring them into bondage and entreat them evil 400 years. Yeah. And this is the Stephen breaking down the history to those wicked Pharisees and Sadducees in them. And he was going into how the Lord gave Abraham this vision, and he was explaining to them how the Lord, once Israel went into captivity under the Egyptians and they were catching hell, that the Lord used Moses to deliver them out of the land of Egypt. And that should have ended that should have ended that madness right there. But it didn't. Why? Because the Lord wanted it that way. But the point is, why aren't these different groups that weren't teaching it, why aren't they coming against those different groups, those different Israelite groups out there and questioning them as to why they taught that and why didn't it come to pass? Why is always the onus, O-N-U-S, look it up, why is always the onus on Great Millstone to prove everything? And how come these other camps, they get a pass on the wildest shit that you could ever... Oh, Barack Obama is the Antichrist. He's the anti-type. You know? President Trump is going to build a statue and he's going to make everybody worship it. Both of those presidents are ex-presidents. And they didn't do those things that he said. Yet, nobody talks about that. Except for Great Millstone. No other camp talks about that. Because in the realm of Satan, in the realm of Satan, all of these camps are joined together to come against Great Millstone. That's right. Now, had we said some crazy shit like that, oh Lord, do you know how many videos would have been out there? You know how many responses and live chats and vocab and probably even Dr. James White would have got back in the mix, you know, with all these ISUPK and all these different other groups. They would have been out there talking all kind of crazy shit about us. And once again, ISUPK, they're teaching that the Apostle John fell off. You don't really hear, too many camps out there talking about that besides Great Millstone. So what's up with the hypocrisy? And how come they don't speak about those things, but they come against us for something that happened more than 20 years ago? They're still questioning us about it, even though we've done countless videos on it, explained it countless times, on the streets, in sit-downs, at the studio, We've explained it many, many times, brought the scriptures out many, many times, but they're like that deaf adder. They're just like Esau, like that deaf adder that stoppeth their ears. Because the only thing they hear is Great Millstone. If we could only get rid of these, But that's all right. Scriptures say, blessed are you when men shall persecute you, for so did they the prophets. And these same people today that call on so-called Jesus, and even some of you guys out there that call on Christ, claiming that you're in the truth. You were the ones that came against the Messiah back then, Yahushua. You were the ones that came against the prophets and killed the prophets. But this time around, you're trying to say, nah, and that's why your spirit is convicting you to make you do what you do. Because just like the spirit of the prophets is subject to the prophets, the spirit of those wicked individuals is subject to you. Because you are the children of those people, which makes you those people that persecuted Yahushua, that persecuted the men of the Lord back then, that in the past persecuted the prophets. Everybody comes back in their lot. There's no such thing as a coincidence. All right, so let's go back to this, and I'll probably finish it off here because I really don't have any anything else to really speak on. So I may just erase the various topics part, unless the Spirit, gives me more to go into. But Acts 7:6, and the power spake on this wise, that his seed should sojourn in a strange land, and that they should bring them into bondage and entreat them evil 400 years, and the nation to whom they shall be in bondage will I judge, which he did. He brought 10 plagues upon them. Said he killed the whole army, including the Pharaoh. Said the Most High, and after that shall they come forth and serve me in this place. Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. 40 years in the wilderness, and then what happened? Boom. When served the Lord in the land of Israel. It says, and he gave him the covenant of circumcision, and so Abraham begat Isaac and circumcised him the 8th day, and Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begat the 12 patriarchs. And that's where the blessing landed. The promise landed. The oath landed with the seed of the nation of Israel. And the patriarchs moved with envy, sold Joseph into Egypt, but the Most High was with him. Why? Because the Lord was setting it up to where our forefathers would be taken care of, even though that was a heinous act that they did. But the Heavenly Father did that so that the Israelites could be taken care of and be built up, be healthy, be able to eat, be sustained, and also set it up to where they would be in the land so that they can go into captivity to fulfill the vision that the Heavenly Father gave to Abraham, whose name was Abram at the time. So then, and delivered him out of all his afflictions, and gave him favor and wisdom in the sight of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. It says, and he made him governor over Egypt and all his house. Now there came a dearth over all the land of Egypt, dealing with when Joseph was in charge, the second in command, and Canaan, and great affliction, and our fathers found no sustenance. But when Jacob heard that there was corn in Egypt, he sent out our fathers first. And at the second time, Joseph was made known to his brethren. You got to read the history if you don't know what this is talking about. And Joseph's kindred was made known unto Pharaoh. Then sent Joseph and called his father Jacob to him, and all his kindred 60 souls, which is 75. So Jacob went down into Egypt and died, he and our fathers, and were carried over into Sichem and land in the sepulchre that Abraham bought for a sum of money of the sons of Emor, the father of Sichem. But when the time of the promise drew nigh, because the Lord said they would be afflicted 400 years, and then the Lord would deliver us, which the Most High had sworn to Abraham, the people grew and multiplied in Egypt, ancient Egypt, till another king arose which knew not Joseph. And that's why, after that, that's when they went into captivity. The same dealt suddenly with our kindred, and evil entreated our fathers, so that they cast out their young children, to the end they might not live. Okay? It says, in which time Moses was born, and was exceeding fair, and nourished up in his father's house 3 months. And when he was cast out, Pharaoh's daughter took him up and nourished him for her own son. And Moses was learnt in all the wisdom of the Egyptians, and was mighty in words and in deeds. And when he was full 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Israel. And seeing one of them suffer wrong, he defended him and avenged him that was oppressed, and smote the Egyptian. It says, for he supposed his brethren would have understood how that the Most High by his hand would deliver them, but they understood not. So this is the deliverance from the land of Egypt. The very day that the 400-year prophecy was up, that's when the children of Israel were brought out of the land of Egypt. See? And the Lord could have made them leave earlier, but the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart to build up the name of the Most High Yahweh. Because after that, all nations feared that name, really feared that name. Because prior to that, the name was out there, but it wasn't well known. When you understand the scripture, it said, by my name, Yahweh was I not known unto them. Meaning, it wasn't well known, but our fathers knew. Because going back to the beginning, even with Adam's son, he built an altar and started calling upon the name of the Lord Yahweh. So the name was always there, but it was magnified after the deliverance of Egypt. Just like it's being magnified right now. And then when the Lord delivers us out of here, then his name is going to really be magnified in the earth. And all those other names are going to fall back, and they're going to fail or pale in comparison to the name of the Lord. Because it says, in that day shall his name be one. And the next day he showed, so you can read the rest of this. You know, it goes into the deliverance. Matter of fact, 34. I started 33. Then said the Lord to him, put off thy shoes from thy feet, for the place where thou standest is holy ground. I have seen the affliction of my people which is in Egypt, and I have heard their groaning, and am come down to deliver them. And now come, I will send thee into Egypt. See? Bottom line, boom. Let's see. And that's exactly what happened. So if you had the understanding and you were able to read and go back into the history, you will see that that's not talking about no other place but ancient Egypt. And then it goes on to read in the book of Genesis 15 and 15, and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age, but in the 4th generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. So the Lord was waiting for these Canaanites to commit all type of foul, wicked acts, so that he could judge them, pull them out of that land, and bring Israel to the land. that squirrel over there just standing, just sitting down on top of the table over there, just looking. It says, and it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace of a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. In the same day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed, the Israelites, have I given this land, because he didn't give it to all nations. From the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates, which is what? That's that so-called fertile crescent, you know, the land of Canaan. And then it says this, the Kenites and the Kenizzites and the Cadmonites, which are all Canaanites, and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaim and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites, and those were all given to Israel. We were supposed to destroy them, but they ended up being our servants because Jake didn't destroy them all. Okay, so that whole thing about the 400-year prophecy in the year 2019, did not come to pass because that wasn't talking about America. That was talking about ancient Egypt. So how come no one is talking about this and questioning these different groups that taught that? How come? Why, are they special? Do they get a pass? Can they bring out false predictions, false prophecies, and not get checked on it? What makes them special? What makes them exempt? Why are they not questioned? Why are you people not making videos on this? The same ones that make video against us. Video after video after video after video. Asking us about something that happened over 20 years ago. How come you don't make videos against them with such vehemency and such fervency as you do when you're coming against us? Is it a personal thing? Huh? Is it you just don't recognize the demons that are on you? Why is that? That's right. Because they're hypocrites. You got it. The Elder Menadezakba said it. They're fucking hypocrites. That's the bottom line. They're fucking hypocrites. And the Lord's going to deal with every last one of you hypocrites out there. But that's pretty much all I had. Like I said, Lord's will, I'll take out the various topics part, because that pretty much just covered that history. And if you want to learn more, just go back and read the history. And you'll acquaint yourself with it. So when any bullshit comes up, you know how to be able to go back and discern, who's telling the truth and who's not. Bottom line. So with that, I pray that you brothers have been edified. To the next time I say shalom.